Dave, another week on the training ground. How's it been this week for you?
Not been much of a week. After getting soaking wet on Tuesday night, changed the week a little bit different. So did a recovery and a top-up day on a Wednesday, had Thursday off, and we'll prep. Did some prep on Wednesday, we'll do some more this morning in terms of tomorrow's game. So always with a midweek fixture, there's a quick turnaround. But like I say, things are in place, so hopefully we'll put in a performance tomorrow and pick up 3 points.
We spoke to you after Tuesday night's game. You spoke about, it doesn't matter what type of game it is, you always want to win. How much have you taken out of that? Obviously looking at the amount of change we made, but you know, in the end we obviously got the victory on penalties.
Yeah, there were loads of positives in terms of what we got from the game. Again, good to be able to learn in out of a winning situation. Things that needed to be better. Players, as is the case in most games, some did themselves more favours than others. But obviously things to think about for the weekend. We had an idea of how we'd go about things and what we needed to do. And that again is only enhanced by what happened on Tuesday. So like I say, it's a new challenge, a new game. Hopefully better weather, but again that we're looking to win on Saturday.
Actually, I know I asked you after Tuesday night, but I suppose more after time to reflect it. Have you looked at kind of your players and obviously kind of seen them in training as well? That ones that start on Tuesday night that haven't really started in the league, and as you mentioned, they give you a little bit more food for thought ahead of your selection.
Yeah, listen, there are some players that certainly from Tuesday and in the games that they've played that have performed well. And I suppose the unfortunate thing from their perspective is that they're behind players that are still performing well on a Saturday in League Two. So what you've got to do in that instance is make sure you take your opportunity to almost hold your position within the squad. And like I say, and some did that. Like I say, in the main, our performances have been good. There's not been huge requirements to make radical changes in terms of the teams the team that we were playing, and our team selection has been pretty consistent, based around injuries, suspensions, all those things. We've been pretty much dictated to in lots of instances how we've had to go, and how in most of the cases how we want to go, because the players that have been in there have been performing well, and like I say, still I'm of the opinion that the point to total we have currently is not where potentially it should be, because our performances have been better than what we've earned, and we've got to make sure we continue to do that in the coming weeks and pick up the points that our performances merit. I
suppose the biggest selection headache for you must be up the top of the pitch. If obviously we saw a few of the strikers on Tuesday night, obviously last Saturday as well, Luke Molyneux coming on doing so well, and it probably is I suppose a good headache to kind of have as well when you have so many players that are trying to get into the team.
I'd prefer a headache where 4 of them had scored 3 goals each, to be fair, but that's not the case. Like I say, we're still in a position where, and it's been a few weeks now, take and go back to after the Tranmere game, our top two top scorers are still out the team, and that probably shows where our problems lie, in the fact that Tyler played the first 6 games or so, and Gav, both of them are out after the Tranmere game, and both still remain the highest scorers we've got in the team, certainly in the league. That could tell you, or should tell you, that our goal scoring hasn't been where we needed to be, and the people at the top end of the pitch haven't been either taking opportunities or in the right place to create opportunities. So that's where the potential issues are. Like I say, we've been, I suppose even when Tyler was in, not really a centre forward, but a forward player who scored goals. Moles fits into that bracket as well. An attacking player who you want to be able to get on the ball in the final third, who hopefully can create and score some goals. But yeah, that's where we need to be. So there are decisions to be made around how we go, and there are still things that we need to do better in order to give ourselves easier opportunities to win games. We're creating chances. It was the same on Tuesday night. The game, although we won the game in the end on penalties, the game should have been well done within normal time. Chances in the first half, really good opportunities, and especially in the second half. And whether that be the finish not quite being there, the last pass not quite being there, the wrong decision in the final third, or that decision before the opportunity to shoot was just not quite there. That's the area we need to get better at. Obviously,
with the game on Tuesday night, it was such a quick turnaround from Saturday's. Obviously defeated Stevenage. How much time, or have you had a chance to reflect, sit down with the squad and look at the Stevenage game, and obviously the goals that we conceded as well from there?
Yeah, we look at the Stevenage game. We looked at on Monday in terms of the things we needed to get out of that. Again, probably re-emphasise a similar thing that we'd spoken about after the game. So that game, you take the scoreline out of it, and granted the scoreline is the most important thing, but everything's in our favour. So what we wanted the players to do and what we wanted to try and get back to was a little bit more around us, and we did that. So we had 65% possession, we had 17 attempts at goal to their 10, we had the same on target, so that can be again something we need to work out. We put 20 plus crosses in, we had 125 attacking situations, we made 600 and odd passes, when if you go back to the weekend previously when we played Exeter, we made 380 passes, and we were almost doubling all of our in possession stuff, which was great. We conceded 2 really poor goals from our perspective, and ultimately didn't take the chances we had at the other end. That cost us a game. But what you can't do is go away from what you're doing, and you have to recognise that, again, we're pretty close. We're pretty close, but that's the ruthlessness of the league you're in. Being pretty close can ultimately end up with no points, and that was the case on the Saturday. You don't have to take that into, like I say, into Tuesday. So it's not just a case of the players that played on Saturday. You have to learn from what was potentially wrong in that. Ultimately, as a group, we need to learn. So then people need to go and take that into Tuesday, which again, in areas we did, and it'll be the same this weekend.
Northampton Town this weekend, point above us in the table, but unbeaten away from home this season. What are you expecting from them?
As you say, unbeaten away from home in terms of, so we'll expect a tough game, but I'm sure they'll expect a tough game as well. I expect the place to be bouncing. I expect us to be us in terms of our intensity, our intent, how we want to go about things, and like I say, hopefully, especially at the not so much the top end of the pitch, but in both penalty areas, we can be better and more clinical, and do those bits better. That will again go a long way to getting us 3 points.
And the injury news ahead of the game, anything maybe picked up on Tuesday night? Or?
No, nothing from Tuesday. Again, we've players coming back, so obviously fella missed the game. He had an X-ray and he's fine, so it's just again soft tissue damage, so it's again a case of letting that settle. Joe Gray obviously wasn't involved. With him it's a case of just building him up. I'd love to have had him involved. It was probably one of them ones that was maybe too soon, but I'm hoping he'll be back in the squad really soon, and we can hopefully get him, whether it's a game next week or whether he's involved tomorrow, we'll see. And hopefully Gav will train this morning, probably with an eye on increasing his load next week, maybe getting him some minutes, but fingers crossed we get him back in the squad, whether it be next weekend or leading into the Saturday, the week after, we'll see.
Any update on Gary Liddell?
Similarly, Lids is one that the longer we can leave him, the better it is. And that doesn't mean we're going to leave until March. If we can not have him involved, which he won't be at the weekend, then I'd suggest another week would bring him really, really close. It may be, again, we're really going to be guided as best as we can by performances, by results. He's obviously an experienced player for us. If we need him back, he's not in a position where we can't can't use him. But if we can sort of prolong it a little bit and just give him even an extra few days, it will make a big difference in the grand scheme of things as time passes by. So again, it's one that we'll judge on the weekend, the performance, how he's feeling, and make a decision as to whether it's next weekend, whether it's the Tuesday fixture, whether it's the following weekend. But it's certainly not a long time away from a return.
Obviously, we mentioned him earlier on, Tyler Bury. I think it was always kind of case maybe November, December for him. How much dialogue have you had with Millwall supporters and kind of looking at his recovery in terms of returning back to Hartlepool?
Yeah, quite a bit. We keep in touch. Tyler's still messages the lads in the group and stuff. So he had an ultrasound scan just to confirm everything around the MRI and where we thought really probably end of November, start of December for him. Now be that return to training or return to play, not too sure, but he'll start stepping up his rehab. The initial plan was for him to be certainly back at Millwall for the first 5-6 weeks or so. So I would envisage it wouldn't be too long before potentially he comes back here, or he certainly starts to step up his rehab, and hopefully we can see him back in a striped shirt in the not too distant future.